Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, yWhales, wherever you are. So we've got another really interesting podcast for you today. And again, we're jumping back into blockchain and crypto. We did some hardware stuff yesterday. Stefan, you really missed out on that one. But we're here with Omnia and the two founders of this. And no, your screens are fine. They did wear different color shirts specifically to help you out. We do have two twins. And so I'm really excited to kind of understand the development cycles of what they're doing. Stefan, have you played around a little bit with all this?
I haven't played with it yet, but any infrastructure type stuff, I love that, right? I think just really that like base layer of like, how do we make crypto better, faster, and just more awesome? So super excited to learn more about them.
Yeah, I mean, it really says a lot that we want that, again, the foundations of what we're doing. So before we get going with that, Cristian, let's go ahead and start with you. So how did you, and I hope that there's two different stories that we have here, but what started your Web3 journey?
So my journey to Web3 started a long time ago, since 2013, I think. Me and Alex wanted to buy an ASIC miner in one flat room. Didn't know the noise behind the miner. So it's a better thing that we didn't do that. But this is the point that we get involved in the crypto. And actually, me and Alex are very passionate about crypto and cryptography behind it. So in a more technical view. So pretty much from 2013, we are in the basis of the cryptography, learning the technical side of it. But from 2016, we started to get more deeper understanding the technical uses beyond that to the business side. So we start investing a bit, starting to see how the miners work. We actually had some miners customizing some firmwares and so on. And from 2020, we started to work for different projects in DeFi, in the privacy. And yeah, so this is the story how we got involved in the Web3.
So when we're talking about, again, jumping into, there's a variety of things you touched, do you have any formal training, or is this just you started kind of playing around?
Yeah, we have a formal training. Myself, I have a PhD in cryptography.
Okay.
And Alex also has a master thesis on that. So yeah, we got some formal, let's say, background, but the most important is the experience, in my view. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll count a PhD
100%.
as experience. That's definitely, I think we'll give you that.
Yeah. Experience and that. So again, and the reason we ask that is to understand, people come at it from very different perspectives. And so understanding, the formal training you have generally, not always, will kind of influence your thinking in and around the space. Alexander, let's again, you're probably a little different, but again, you guys share a very similar path here growing up.
Yeah,
together.
Actually, we shared a lot of the path of the career path. So basically, starting from, we have military background, so we did both military high school and let's say military technical academy. The university was a military one, specialized in, let's say, cybersecurity for national defense and so on. So basically, until we graduated, we work like together in the same class, we're in the same room most of the time. So this was very helpful because we can, let's say, think beforehand what other one is thinking, what other one is going to do. So we have like this thinking without even speaking. It's really cool. It's like one of the benefits of having a twin brother. But now back to the formal trading. Yes, we shared a lot of the training background. So we did the university, the bachelor's degree at the Military Technical Academy. We also did the master thesis at the same university, still in cybersecurity. Then Cristi focused more on, let's say, academia part with his PhD in cryptography. But I switched more to, let's say, the management part. I was involved into some management courses, how to better understand how we can grow through innovation. I applied for some, let's say, INSEAD programs to understand more about critical thinking and how can you actually apply those methods to innovate and understand what customers really want to do. So I think this sums up most of our backgrounds we shared. Then at some point we split it when I joined this company where I work for, let's say, an identity solution using blockchain technology. I also have a pending patent for this solution. And at this point, I think Cristian has joined another project in DeFi, and he worked more, let's say, on the cryptographic part. How can it be used for privacy in those specific projects? But I will give him the mic, let's say, to expand that story.
Yeah, thank you for passing the mic. So we discovered some things working for a company named now it's named Block Wallet. They have this privacy approach on chain, which is very cool. But we realized at some point that we need to figure out all the privacy end to end, because you'll need to have off-chain privacy and also on-chain privacy. So at that point last year, we discovered that in the space there are some gaps, and then we started to work, let's say, on the features of the Omnia.
So what was the before we get into Omnia again, what was the kind of aha moment or the point at which you guys were like, we have to start attacking this problem? What was the catalyst of that?
So I think the catalyst is again behind the cryptography, because most of the primitives and the things that are on a theoretical side are to achieve privacy and security. And with our background in cybersecurity and so on, we always had this, let's say, vision about making things private and secure. And at some point, we realized that a lot of ideas that we had in the past actually had been, let's say, implemented by other teams around the world. And we realized at some point that we have some good, let's say, vision about the projects and how the things are going to spin off. And we thought that we should do a nice thing, me and Alex. So this is when we realized that we need to do something.
That's fabulous. I love it. So let's just dive right into it and get into it. So Omnia, give us the elevator pitch, and then we want to really dive in and I think you promised some screen sharing for us.
Yeah, of course. So as a short pitch deck or presentation of the pitch deck is so we discovered two big problems, and one of that is the fact that the blockchain is supposed to be decentralized. This is the core thesis about the blockchain, but in reality, there are some central points of failure in the ecosystem, which is the accessing points. For example, most of the application rely on some central points to access the blockchain. And one example of that is Infura, which has a lot of servers around the world, which offers like for 60% of the Ethereum application the accessing to the blockchain by reading and writing. And this is one problem that we discovered and we are solving. And another problem that we discovered is the fact that almost all the people goes to these privacy coins such as Monero, Tornado Cash, or Zcash and assume that they have privacy, but in fact they only hide recipient and amounts. But if the node provider is central, they can map your IP address with your on-chain addresses and make correlation based on your behavior and so on that, and even make, let's say, identification even that you're using these privacy coins. So this is the pitch of the Omnia.
I saw a demo not too long ago that is they're not public yet or sharing, but he was scrolling through LinkedIn and the plugin was automatically linking wallet addresses to LinkedIn profiles. And so I'm sure that that's exactly what you guys are discussing, that it is public and people will figure out ways to tie those to real people.
Yeah. And actually we seen some things which are not very good, like kidnapping and so on, because someone revealed the IP addresses and so on. And we really think that those problems needs to be solved in the full end-to-end approach, not in a segment way that it's currently approached.
Is it an L1 protocol or does it live on something else? Let's maybe start there. Just give us kind of how does it actually work?
So it's not a layer one. We serve the layer ones. We are just a protocol implemented in a decentralized way. For example, we don't rely on a single, let's say, node or server to access the blockchain. We let people to onboard their nodes and actually pay them for that. So we covered also this problem because in the past, you don't have any incentive to share your fully synced node. And now you can even earn rewards by onboarding your node. So we are not a layer 1, but we are serving multiple layers 1. We already
so that's
have
more
support.
the Infura replacement.
Exactly, but in a more decentralized approach.
Right. Okay. Awesome. And so, how are you doing it more decentralized than Infura is doing? Like, how does the structure actually end up working out there?
So right now, Infura has servers around the world in different central providers. And for example, last year in 8th of December, I think US region went down on Amazon Web Servers. And because of that, Infura went down. And after that, some decentralized exchanges went down. And this is a thing that wasn't supposed to happen. And our protocol, in fact, aggregates more node providers from the world, from the people that are willing to put up their nodes to work, and maybe servers from their own home, from their own data center. Even, for example, we are looking for making a partnership with Avado. They have that little servers. I've seen the podcast with you guys.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he's a good dude. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the approach that we are having. And even, for example, Infura can couple their nodes to our infrastructure to have a maximization of resources while staying without using them.
Okay, awesome.
So if it can run on a Navara, it's a very low power, low data approach.
Yes. So please, Alex.
Yeah, I wanted to join a bit for more technical details, let's say, because there are two different things here. So one are the resources, as Cristian has explained, the one who are providing the nodes. For example, if you run on a Binance Smart Chain node and you want to share that node and earn rewards, you can do that. But besides doing, let's say, a decentralization of the access, we are also providing the privacy. And this is achieved by, let's say, obfuscating the traffic, putting it through a mixnet, like something similar to Tor, but there are some differences here that enhance, let's say, the security and the privacy. So that the second component is a privacy layer, and this is very lightweight. It can also be run on that specific, let's say, hardware component.
Okay, and so you do like an onion routing type approach where each node forwards to another node, and it kind of like it routes that way, and then it accesses the blockchain, or like it works differently.
The flow is correct, but there are some details, let's say, in regards to the onion routing. So the problem with Tor is that it has like almost 25 of the nodes compromised, and because of its onion routing, let's say, structure, you can actually correlate traffic in and out the network. So what mixnets do is basically use the same, let's say, approach with hops, only that you don't forward all the traffic through the same, let's say, path. You don't have established a session and all the traffic goes to the same path, but actually you chop down into smaller packets, you route them in a random, let's say, path, and you also introduce like delay in timings. So actually this is compensated with extra decoy traffic and makes the system like very obfuscated. If you look at the in and out of the network, you can no longer correlate the bytes that are going, let's say, on a time frame or something like that. So it's more like an enhanced solution of how to achieve like this privacy at the network level. And there are some quite good projects out there that also chase this.
That's really interesting. Okay, so basically you end up padding the packages so they all like have roughly the same size, et cetera, and you make them a lot more anonymous. And so, okay, so help me understand this. So are you more, so all of this does not happen on chain, obviously, right? This is an off-chain implementation and your reward system. Interesting. Okay, so you fix the Tor problem where just no one has an incentive of actually running good nodes, because why would you bother? You're not getting paid anything. So in your case, you're getting paid for running the nodes, and therefore you will end up having a lot more nodes, and you will end up being a lot more private than Tor would be.
Yeah, and at the same time helps with the, let's say, decentralization of the existing chains. So this applies also for Ethereum nodes, Bitcoin nodes, and so on.
Wait, so does it work for traditional like traditional Tor type browsing as well? Can I just browse the internet through your network, or it's really just to access blockchains?
Well, it'd be more tailored to Access blockchain, but I think I'll better leave the word for Cristian. I know he for sure wants to say something on this subject with the other partners that are chasing this part.
Yeah, thank you for that. So actually, the MixNet technology allows you to do the web browsing, even coupling some applications to it. So you can use it. This is the short answer. The longer answer is that we rely and actually use that only in the blockchain specific case. But for example, we have this company named NIM Technologies, and they implement a very good solution with MixNets, and it's very generic. And we actually plan to use it in the bootstrap phase so we can have a shorter time to market, to ship our products. And yeah, the short response is that we can use it in every application that you want to do.
That's pretty awesome, huh? So it's kind of, yeah, interesting. So, okay, it's basically a VPN replacement at the same time then as well. So you kind of compete in a whole bunch of different markets potentially. And really you're using the economic benefits of blockchain to some extent more than the actual blockchain tech. You're building that ecosystem, that community through blockchain, through the reward system. And then you have like a really cool tech implementation on the privacy side.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's mostly
How
like
much
an
are you-
off-chain tool.
I love that Stefan gives this long thing, and the answer is, yeah, we do all that. Tell you what, but to get this, because we're going to have to go through, and so anyone listening on audio, anyone listening on audio, I'm gonna apologize. We're going to be back in. Alexander or Cristian, let's go ahead and fire up the screen share, because I think we just need to see and understand. We've done a good job of dancing around this, but you absolutely have my attention right now. This is a huge problem in not only in blockchain, but really, again, onerous bad actors, whether they're nation states or just, again, black hats around the world.
Yeah.
And I'm suddenly terrified that in any way, shape, or form, my IP address.
Yeah, we actually we released some findings recently with how you can find the IP address of an Ethereum address only by dropping an NFT. But maybe we can talk about this later.
Oh, God.
You're in trouble, Jay.
Yes, please. All right. Yes. No, that just ended my NFT collections. Please.
Yeah, sure. So we have our MVP. It's live and it's free for now. Anyone can use it, and it's very simple. In terms of, let's say, retail users, they have the option to register with the nodes. We are working very hard on that, but the feature to generate an endpoint and securely access the blockchain, it's already implemented and ready to go. And the flow, it's pretty simple. You just need to collect your Web3 wallet. Any Web3 wallet that it's injected in your browser works. So the friction, it's zero, is the same flow. And we have support now for Bitcoin, Binance, and Ethereum, and we are working very hard to adopt other chains. And for example, if I go for Binance mainnet, now it's capped at 25 requests per second and 100K per request per day because it's free. But usually you would have the option to customize your subscription with how many days you want to be active and so on. The payment will be in our token, in stablecoin, or even in fiat by paying with card. You will sign for that transaction to pay, and actually now the link is generated, and this is the endpoint where an application should send requests to read and write data in a private and fail-proof manner. And for the tech guys that know what to do with this link, because they build application, they can copy it and use it, or use it, for example, in MetaMask here as add a network. But we thought that there are some people that not so let's say technical, and we have this option to switch the network. You have a pop-up from the Web3 wallet, and you can see here the URL is the same that with the one that was generated just a few seconds ago. You approve and switch the network, and from this moment on, you can see here that the Web3 wallet uses our endpoints, and we can confirm that in a minute. Here, yeah, we can see that it's our endpoint, and all the transactions that are being made right now with the Web3 wallet goes through this secure anonymous network and in a fail-proof manner. So it's that simple.
Wow.
That's super cool. Hey, actually, maybe for especially for the people that are listening that are like less technically inclined, can you explain what this actually like? What does the RPC do, right? Like, what is the infrastructure you're replacing? Like, what is like the piece of the puzzle? Can you give us like a high level overview of to how they work? That way, really anyone understands like why this is actually really cool.
Yeah, so it's really cool because it's actually like an entry point to the blockchain. And now if you are using this entry point, this door to the blockchain, it's implemented in such a way that it's never supposed to go down because it is decentralized in the same way that Ethereum works right now or other chains. And in the same way, we have the privacy, such as no one can see your requests or the transaction that you are make from your wallet to another wallet and so on.
So, okay, just to be clear, so the RPC base. So when I submit a transaction on MetaMask, the transaction doesn't go straight from my computer to the blockchain. It goes from my computer to then you, and then you effectively submit it to the blockchain on my behalf in an anonymous fashion. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, but we actually the state of the privacy and the private thing, it's more to the edge of computing. So it's more close to your wallet rather than ours. So basically the RPC, as you already said, it's needed because the transaction, when it's sent, for example, here from the Web3 wallet, it's sent to a provider. And
okay,
actually the privacy starts from the moment when you pressed sign the transaction because you are using our secure network. And from that moment and on, you do not need to care about the privacy anymore because it goes through this mixnet layer which achieve this privacy.
And when you're saying privacy,
maybe
you mean my IP won't be connected to the wallet, right? Obviously, the transaction itself will still be on the blockchain and public. It's just that connection between my device that is submitting the transaction and then actually what ends up on chains. And so you're saying like somebody like in Fura can easily tell who I am because of exactly that, and you're solving that problem and effectively disconnecting the two.
That's
yeah, you're
very
right.
correct. And also
But I
it's
would
not only the IP address, sorry, Alex, it's not only the IP addresses, it's also the behavior, because you may use, let's say, a VPN, but if the behavior is the same, Infra can still map your addresses. So it's not only the IP address.
Okay, awesome.
let
Yeah,
me
that's super interesting.
let me jump a bit here because there are some more interesting facts that are undergoing and under development, and maybe they are interesting to also, let's say, put on the table. So you are perfectly right? So basically, using our solution, we decouple your wallet, let's say, from the IP address, which also decouples from the behavior. But you mentioned let's say, you put it very well, that the transaction is still out there in the blockchain because the blockchain is public, right? But as you probably know, there are some things called private mempools, and Flashbots is a great project that implements that. So we are now in a process of integrating private mempools, and what this enables, it enables front-running protection for, let's say, traders that submit transactions to Ethereum, for example. So basically, when you generate an endpoint using Omnia, you can check a box and say enable front-running protection. And what we do when a transaction is submitted to that endpoint, and we know that is let's say enabled front-running protection, we route that transaction to a private mempool so that it remains private until it's mined. Of course, there is a subject of increasing the gas price so that we have more priority into the blocks, but this is something that we plan to do like a managed service. So basically, you pay extra for, let's say, more premium subscription. We take care of, let's say, making bundles with some extra transactions that pay more fees to the miners, so that you know for sure that every transaction that you send to this endpoint will have high priority and will no longer be in a public mempool that it's broadcasted by all the nodes in that specific network. So this is also like something that we are building on top of that, and we are looking at more ways on how to expand the privacy until the transaction is mined, because after it's put into a block, you can no longer, let's say, hide it. It's already there. But up to that point, we strive to obtain that privacy end to end.
Awesome. And I mean, one of the problems with all of these is obviously the scalability, right? Even within Fura, like half the time when your blockchain seems to be like whatever, if I'm on BSC and it seems down, like half the time it's just the RPC is down and it's not actually the blockchain. So how do you guys solve the scalability concerns? Because obviously one of the problems is going to end up being that if you're in AWS, you just scale up your instances, you won't be able to really do that. I guess you can do a mix. You could have some AWS, et cetera, right? I guess. But so how do you see that? How do you keep this really, really highly scalable and highly available?
Yeah, I think this is very an important question, and it's really a balance between being decentralized from day one and achieving scalability. So I think this was a topic that also Moxie, I think the founder of Signal, had reached at some point, is that if you want agility, you don't have to strive for decentralization right from day one. And this is actually what we are doing right now. So the MVP that is already live, the nodes are managed by us, and we are already starting to reach out to the community. We see interest in people joining with their nodes, but we have backup nodes into the cloud, a multi-cloud strategy actually, and also in our own data center. So as soon as we also start onboarding more and more people to balance like the pool of resources, we don't want to fully discard all the backup nodes. We'll still maintaining until we see that there is a specific, let's say, threshold in the resources that have joined the pool. And we want to make sure that at that point, they have like this stake, the skin in the game to maintain the servers available. So if you have a node and you want to join in Omnia as a resource to earn rewards, you'll have to stake a specific amount of tokens. And why you need to do that? There are two reasons. One is security, because if you misbehave, you get slashed, so you lose all your stake. If you return bad data to the users, it's an entire discussion here we can expand. But the second one is that you need to consistently meet the performance requirements that you promised you will deliver. So basically, before joining, you say, I will deliver like 100 requests per second, and I will be uptime 99.99%. And if you do not consistently meet that specific, let's say, target, your rewards will get decreased more and more. And after a specific threshold, your stake will get slashed. So you have the skin in the game and an incentive to, let's say, invest and make sure that the resources that you are putting up into the ecosystem, they are available, and they will still be available in case some, let's say, things happen. So this is the way that we designed so far these requirements.
Awesome, Jay. I'll bounce it back to you. I'm sure you got loads of other questions.
Yeah,
get too lost in the
I do.
Tech.
Yeah, so I'm going to we're going to pull back from the tech a little bit. So this is a big thing. This is, obviously for a user, that's one thing. And I'm sure there's lots of, very, privacy centered users, but is this scalable for exchanges and some of the larger DEXs to be able to use?
Yes, it is, because actually what we have planned on the roadmap is to have specific pools of nodes. For example, if you want to have great connections with like a few milliseconds of delays when accessing the blockchain, we can give you that, because we can rearrange or use only a specific pool of nodes from your region, because it makes no point to access the servers from China if you are in Europe, or vice versa, or something like that. So we'll have at some point special pools for people to access, or for companies to access the blockchain in their most closest region with high availability on the resources.
Who's have you guys taken funding yet, or is this something you just built?
We already funded. We almost closed the round. We have a total raise of 3.4 million, and our lead
on what
valuation of
on what valuation?
25 million valuation post money. And right now we are preparing for launch and preparing things to be wrapped up. We wanted to deliver first the product, to ship it and to people actually to use it, and then having the public launch with all the tam-tam and so on. But this is how we thought it would be better to ship the product first and to prove it, and then having the, let's say, the launch party.
No, I absolutely love that you guys have put it out there. You're letting people play with it. Clearly, you guys are getting a lot of data and messing around on the back end to improve it. So there's a couple points that you said, and it goes a little bit against the decentralized part of it. So you do have control over a few things. You talk about how you're securing this, because clearly, I don't need to tell you guys about this how valuable this is to Web3, to have privacy from bad actors and whatnot. How is the entire encompassing secured? Is it all proof of stake, or are you guys doing any other protocols to kind of encapsulate and keep your end safe?
Alex, I think you can have the mic.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the first one is, as mentioned before, the staking to join. The second one is have audits for all the smart contracts that are involved and that are transit at some point with, let's say, cryptocurrencies and so on. We also plan to organize bug bounties, so reward white hat hackers that help us improve beforehand, so with responsible disclosure and so on. But I think one of the most important things here is the part when you return bad data to the, let's say, users. This was the second point that I mentioned earlier. So basically what we implement and plan to finish and wrap it in the protocol, it's have like this node integrity protocol. So we will mirror requests so such that in a way when at some random times, let's say, and mirroring, let's say, this feature, we'll make sure that if a node returns like some specific data to a user, we want to make sure that that data has already been agreed by consensus. So by mirroring the request to other nodes in the pool to make sure that the data is not corrupt. So you are not returning like a bad balance from an account, you return like bad address from a smart contract or anything else. We implement this node integrity protocol such that every request, we make sure in a statistical way, of course, that the data is correct and already agreed by the network consensus.
Stefan, back to you.
No, that's super cool. Wait, by the way, how many layers do you route through?
There are 3 layers in the mixnet, and basically those 2 layers can be at highest, there are 3 columns, but the columns can be as high as, I don't know, maybe thousands of nodes. So the randomness is between those three layers. At each time you have a connection or sending packets, there will be a different route between those 3 layers.
Why do both the privacy and the Infura replacement at once, right? Because I don't know, I'm a big fan of focus, and it feels like you're trying to solve several problems at once. Like, how come you decided to go with both at once versus just starting the decentralized architecture and then layering privacy on top of that? Like, I'm curious, like the decision making there, like why'd you go with doing both at the same time? Or I guess no, it's not default because you could still do it the other way around. Yeah, why'd you go with that? I'm curious.
Actually, we started first with the privacy thing because we discovered the gap in the privacy. And at some point, we realized that most of the application rely on a central entity. And because this is a central entity, they can have even more power in, let's say, finding out about the transaction and so on. And we thought, we view it from one angle and see that we need to implement this off-chain privacy, but in the same time we thought with the critical thinking, okay, let's move a bit with a new angle and see it if we can do something more on top of that. And at the moment we realize that even the central nodes are a big problem itself with the privacy because they know all the time all the information. We decided to make them together and solving 2 problems at once, but in fact there is one single problem that we are solving is accessing in a fail-proof manner.
So it's that decentralization aspect. Yeah, that makes sense. And so by doing the decentralization, you then kind of by default, with obviously your routing on top of it, like solve a lot of the problem. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I will add one thing. It's more like an opportunity that, rather than chasing 2 rabbits here. So basically, if we are still chasing this infrastructure, building the infrastructure, we have like this basic concept from the security. If you want security, you make it by design. You don't add it at a later point. You should enable it right from the start. So this is basically more like decentralizing with the privacy and security by design, and thus the focus on privacy. because we discovered that there is a real pain here, and we should use it like the main differentiator between our competitors, because there are other projects as well that try to decentralize access to the blockchain, but we take the opportunity to also implement this off-chain layer, privacy layer.
I'm really curious, what audience are you going after first? Like, are you going to large dApps and you're trying to sell this to them? Like, where do you see most of your traction so far? Like, who's most interested, and kind of like, what's your business strategy on getting adoption?
So we are mainly B2B. So the first users are companies that want to have private access, and to actually close the deal, a partnership with Block Wallet. They have this on-chain privacy. We are bringing the off-chain privacy so they can distinguish themselves with this end-to-end privacy to the users. So wallets will be a first category or ideal clients for us. Then we'll have, for example, decentralized exchanges, because they will need to be all the time up, not going down because some outages in the cloud servers and so on. And all the application that.
Do you think you'll have better uptime? Because my gut feeling would be you'd have worse uptime being decentralized, because you could have a lot harder time managing capacity than a centralized player would be. Like, do you think you'll have better uptime?
Yes, of course, because for example, if you couple multiple resources which had, for example, 99.999% availability, now you can have a pool where at least one has that availability. So if all of them goes down, you at least have this one with the same, let's say, uptime that we had before the Omnia.
Well, yeah, but you would be so swamped, you would be super slow at that point. So you'd be theoretically up, but practically unusable, right? Because I feel like if you were just with a centralized, like whatever you did, 3 clouds, Google, whatever, Azure and AWS, you'd end up with better uptime, obviously with huge problems. By the way, I love what you're doing. I'm just curious, actually, is uptime the selling point? Because it feels like you could probably accomplish better uptime with centralization. Now, you wouldn't want to, but you could. So I'm curious how you differentiate to B2B players, especially.
I would say that still privacy is the main thing. Let me interrupt a bit. So I think the privacy is still the main selling point here. Also, the availability is important, as you have said, of course. Maybe the timing, the delays will be much higher, but you would not go down at all, let's say. But I think with the decentralized exchanges, what Cristian was trying to say, that they're a potential client and we see them as an ideal client, is basically because we see that this issue with MAV attacks. So basically sandwiching transactions and so on becomes like a real threat, but also for the user experience of the users that use these decentralized exchanges. So also for them, it's important to have like these features of front-running protection and so on. Please, Cristian.
So are you guys able to stop sandwich attacks with this?
With the help of others, partners, of course, because you need to have private mempools, and FlashBoots, it's a great project that we started to work on with. We have progress so far. We are implementing their, let's say, protect RPCs, but we also, because we plan to onboard nodes, we can go straight to, let's say, mining pools, like big miner pools, and organize with them these private mempools so that we can route transactions straight to them. So we are not solving the entire, let's say, issue ourselves. Of course, it's a bigger issue. It's a threat to the ecosystem. It cannot be solved by one single angle. You need to cooperate with multiple players. But we think we can at least put our, let's say, effort into this and help the ecosystem become better.
So talking about that ecosystem, what's the kind of, how many nodes are you running today as your test? What's that minimum threshold that you want to meet? And what's your, theoretical limits, or is there any limit on the number of nodes that could be run?
Well, I think there is no limit, because you can actually organize them in pools. As Cristian has mentioned before, you can put them into by geolocation and so on. So you organize them based on latency, so that you don't have like this friction with load balancing on too much servers or so on. Because there is an issue when you switch from one node to another. If you submit a transaction and the nonce is computed based on the pending transaction of that node, and the load balancer decides that you switch the node to the one in, let's say, South Europe, basically when you poll for the nonce, you get a wrong one, and this might create some issues at some point. So basically, the best idea is to make them in pools that are more dedicated either as geolocation, but also for use cases. You may have applications that would require a low latency. You may have applications that require high throughput. So it depends a lot of the use cases. And we also try from the data that we gather to understand better what use cases people would like to, let's say, do. So at this point, because you asked how many servers and nodes we have right now, so I think we have servers in, I can say the regions, we have in US, we have servers in Europe, both in North and South. We also have in South Asia, we use some, at this point, some global, let's say, DNS load balancer so that we route traffic based on geolocation. And for each region, we have at least, I think, more than a dozen, let's say, nodes and servers for each combination of network and chain, blockchain and network. And the health checks that we do are more consistent in terms of that we are not only checking that you have a TCP layer connection at level 4, that the server is up and that's all. We actually, for each health check, we see that for each combination of blockchain and network, you have at least one node that is active and responding within a certain, let's say, delay. So at this point, I think the delay that we are seeing are under 600 milliseconds or 500 milliseconds. Sometimes you can also go through as low as 120 milliseconds, which is pretty reasonable in my opinion. But of course, it's the beginning, it's MVP. We are still looking at the data and trying to better understand the bigger picture and how you can impose those limits. Because if you put like too restrictive limits, very few will join. If you put too low limits, then a lot of trashy, let's say, nodes will join. You will not have a good performance. So we are now still in that phase when we are adjusting. We are, let's say, analyzing the data such that we can take a decision based on data and not by, let's say, bad intuition. I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, I really want to back up to the very high level problem here, right? So like, I think few people understand that there is when I submit a transaction from my MetaMask, even if it's on a completely decentralized platform, if I submit from my MetaMask to Uniswap, for example, both sides decentralized, right? There currently is a very centralized component in the middle there. It's called Infura. It's like nearly all of Web3 traffic runs through them, right? It's kind of like an AWS type situation where they basically are the intermediary. So when I submit a transaction from MetaMask, it goes from MetaMask to Infura, and then from Infura to whatever, let's say Ethereum, right? So like Infura actually submits to the chain. And in that process itself, obviously your privacy is heavily compromised, right? Because Infura gets your IP, Infura gets all that other stuff. And by the way, so do the ISPs, right? I think that's a whole other interesting thing. Like people think blockchain is so private, but all this triangulation we're talking about right now can be done by ISPs as well. And so that middle piece there that these guys are building is super, super valuable because of exactly that, right? If you are actually looking for privacy on chain, right? And you still have a few other problems, right? You can have patterns on how you spend, et cetera. So your wallet might still be triangulated. But this certainly takes that huge middle part away where suddenly there's a decentralized infrastructure that has no incentive of getting your data, right? And that has it set up from a security perspective in layers to obfuscate that data from as many people as possible. And so is that a fair kind of like high level description of just the kind of like the beginner version of like, hey, what is the actual problem here? And the solution?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I fully agree with you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. That's good. At least I got that right. That's nice.
So, Cristian, real quick, you were talking about kind of a second ago, and I'd like to recap on some of the other features and benefits of Omnia that are going to be rolled out, kind of over time.
Yeah, so we have something very nice prepared for the community and for all the people that are using the blockchain, because you need to access when you are using it, and because we have this kind of aggregator of requests, all the requests go through in a more decentralized or centralized way. And actually, because most of the providers charges you at per request, but allows you to have batching in each request. And most of the people now, they aren't using any batching. They pay for each request that they are doing to their provider. And what we have in our roadmap, it's actually because we receive all the transactions of most of the transaction and we route them, we can batch them together, place them in a single request to one provider, and actually you can charge 1,000 clients and pay only for one when making their requests. Of course, you cannot charge the full price for those 1,000, but you can reduce a lot the cost for the people which want to access the blockchain. So this is
let me ask
a
question. Okay, sorry. Do you batch the on-chain request or you batch the off-chain request? So if if there's 1,000 payments being made, do you batch it into one single request and you way optimize the gas on-chain, or this is more of an off-chain situation?
No, it's an off-chain situation where you batch all the transactions in a batch and send them to the node.
Okay, cool. Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure which one it was. Perfect, thanks. That's still super cool. So that's going to be just a huge savings on the infrastructure cost that a lot of dApps have.
Yes, because now you pay for each request that you are making.
That makes sense.
This provides a lot of valuable resources to Web3 because you've been very clear about kind of the initial MVP and use case of this technology, but clearly your roadmap, which right now kind of is only for middle of this year, but where's this go? Where's kind of the future of this going out a year or two?
So we want to be a replacement for most of the chains as an access point in such a way that they can use it in a fail-proof manner and they don't have this privacy thing because privacy it's a more like a human right and should be embedded in any technology, including blockchain. Doesn't matter the chain that you are using. So this is our vision, to empower with the privacy in each chain that it's already implemented.
I love it. I'm super excited. So as we kind of go into Web3, you guys have been around for a long time. You certainly have a number of projects that you guys play with. What do you think that's cool out there? What are you guys excited about just overall when you think of crypto and you think of everything that just really is going on in this industry?
So I think on my end, I love a lot the implication and the dedication of the people, and its work in a very similar way as any blockchain works, in a decentralized approach. I think this is the best thing that can be seen out there in the Web3. People are joining and putting hand to hand to help some issues or to solve the issues around the world. And I think the best thing is this one. People working together in a decentralized way, having a consensus on a different thing, having different angles to see each problem and actually work together to solve it. I think this is a very cool thing to see in the space.
Just what's it like? Who is it? What kind of people? How size? All those.
Yeah, so things. We are like I think for now we are 70K followers, and we have a Telegram group also. I think there are like 16 people right there. Most of them are technical guys or more oriented as developers, because our main community will be also developers, because they are the ones that are building the application and needs to make sure that implemented in a secure way, in a private way also. So this is our mainly target for the audience or for the community. But since we want to have an impact for more of the companies, not for, let's say, developers, because, for example, we have this partnership with Block Wallet, and most people that will use Block Wallet don't even know that their request goes through Omnia protocol and they have off-chain privacy. And we actually have also this kind of people also in the community.
I would probably add that some of the, let's say, community members are traders that maybe operate some kind of automatic trading through bots. What I'm saying that is, after I tested the waters with the front running protection, I discovered that a lot of the members from the community are really interested into this feature. And why is that? Is because they are traders and because they was were caught up in this thing with EMV attacks and so on. So I think this also, it's a big chunk of the community are traders and use like these automated bots. But
Yeah,
I'm
and
also willing to make some shout outs here to other projects that I'm very excited about in the blockchain ecosystem, let's say. So I think one of the projects that I'm really enthusiastic about is Algorand. I think they have a great team behind. Uh, I think most of them are really experienced in all the cryptography. I think Cristian has published a paper that is based on one of Mikali's results in homomorphic encryption, like having runtime privacy. So we have like this storage privacy when you encrypt data. We have privacy of data in transit, what we are doing, what we have with HTTPS and so on. But like the bigger one is having privacy when we actually compute data. So computing over encrypted data. And I know that Mikali is one of the pioneers in that subject, and he's Algorand. I'm really stoked about the results out there. But there are also, let's say, cryptographers really important in that team. We had like with a discussion with them, so we see that they are building this great stuff by proving, let's say, computations not only from layer 1 to layer 2, but also vice versa. So actually enabling both ways. I think this is a really cool feature that I haven't seen in any product, in other projects so far. I also would like to mention here Flashbots, because they are bringing a lot of value in the ecosystem. It's already, I don't know,
it's already known. Yes, I
it's
think
already known.
everybody, at least the traders, they know exactly what the problem they solve and what's the issue out there. But I wanted to add something to your previous question, because I remember something very recently. We also attracted a lot from the NFT communities, because me and Alex and another advisor from Block Wallet, we discovered a huge vulnerability in MetaMask. Your funds are safe, so no worries about that. Actually, we discovered that by dropping an NFT to any address, you can find out their IP address. Because when the mobile application, MetaMask mobile application, retrieves the image, it goes directly to the server that holds the image. Because on a blockchain, you have only the reference. And when the wallet reads the address, goes to the server, retrieves the image, and actually expose your IP address. And it's not the only problem. You can also drop like millions on NFTs, point to a single server, and even have some kind of distributed denial of service attack. And actually, it was pretty big, because I think the co-founder of MetaMask responded and acknowledged it, said sorry. Hats down to him, because we already seen that they started to work on that to fix it. And yeah, this is something that we discovered like I think back in December we reported, but we didn't see let's say such a good movement to fix it. So we step up, and we thought maybe it's time to show it public, to have a kind of a pressure to solve it, and it seems that it worked. So I think in a few weeks anyone will be safe with that matter.
Is that just on the mobile application?
Yeah.
Or is that
only
on
the mobile
application?
because the extension does not support collectibles, at least as far as I know at this point.
You just backed up the reason why I do zero anything on chain on mobile. It's either on a computer on a hard line, or I just don't do it.
Yeah.
So that thank you for that validation.
You're welcome.
Well, guys, gotcha. So I apologize. I'm on a different computer right now, but we do have yWhales does have a token that we do distribute, and we absolutely want to give you one of those crystal whales that we give you guys for taking the time and being on our show. It's been absolutely fabulous. Stefan, did you have any last questions before we let these guys go?
No, that was super cool. I mean, I think it's such an interesting infrastructure problem. So I'm just super psyched about seeing, and especially, I mean, it's like one of these perfect use cases, right? Where you can use the economics and the incentives of blockchain, and you combine it with more of a traditional infrastructure play that, like, I mean, these type of applications I think are going to be huge, especially on the privacy side. I mean, it's going to be so cool. So I'm super excited to see your progress. So the best of luck on crushing this. It's going to be really cool to see. Thanks for coming by. That was super cool.
It's a game changer in more even than one ways, because I think that, listen, Alexander and Cristian have really thought through a lot, and they've built this based on everything that they couldn't visualize and everyone else. But as you know, once this thing is out in the wild, there's going to be use cases of which people, nobody understood, nobody knew. And so I'm really interested to see the adoption of this technology, for various protocols, because, there's a lot of valid reasons for someone to want privacy. And I think that when people hear privacy and obfuscation, they immediately go to bad actors and reasons why someone, would want to, hide, illegally moving your money. But as you said, privacy, just being able to say, like, I don't want to be involved in a wrench attack. I don't want to have, my home address, possibly, showcase to the world for a variety of reasons. And so really, I applaud you guys for standing up, figuring this out, and with the backgrounds and brain power between the two of you guys, I am really excited to see where you guys go in the future. So thank you for coming by.
Thank you as well. It was a great pleasure for us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.